Present.
Here. The first item of business on the agenda is discussion by council, vote, or other action on reconsideration of vote taken on June 16, 2014 regarding contingency budget line items. Mr. Zielinski, this was requested by Mr. Zielinski. Do you have anything you want to add to that?
Yes, Mr. President, thank you. Under the contingency line item, infrastructure, 1001-419456500020, that's just to show everybody can read my glasses. Contingency fund. We had the department's request of $110,000. The administrator proposed $110,000, and then the budget committee recommended $110,000. I was part of the majority that voted to reduce that to $75,000. I've since rethought about it, the impact of the positive impacts it could have. Contingency infrastructure, if we had the money in it, we could definitely put money in for engineering fees for the Branch River development, which could certainly show the state of Rhode Island we are serious about maintaining business development. Also, the other part of that too would possibly help the folks on Andrews Terrace who are in dire need, knowing that their land is not going to be condemned when we go out there next. So, Mr. President, I'm going to make a motion, because I was in the majority, that decreased it from what was recommended of 110 to 75. Mr. President, I'd like to make the motion to increase that to $110,000.
I think we have to have a motion first to
Well, that's what I'm telling you. Shall I make a motion to reconsider?
The motion by Councilor Zielinski to reconsider the contingency budget line items. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Alves. Is there any discussion? Hearing none?
Motion not to make the motion.
So this is just a motion to reconsider. So we have to know whether to reconsider. That's for a roll call vote.
Yes. Yes.
Yes, motion carries. Now we can revisit the line item that Mr. Zielinski was referring to.
Mr. President, for reasons I just outlined, I would like to increase the infrastructure contingency fund from $75,000 to $110,000 as originally requested by departments, town administration, and recommended by the budget committee.
That's the motion?
That's a motion.
Okay, we have a motion. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor Alves. Discussion. I've actually asked the chair of our redevelopment agency, Mr. Scott Gibbs, to join us this evening to weigh in on this because the redevelopment agency has done so much work on this plan, and I think that this is critical to laying the foundation for incremental increases in our tax rates that we're going to need to support the things that people care about. So if I could just call upon you, Mr. Gibbs, to provide a little bit of an overview. Sure.
Thank you, Council President, Town Council. I'm here, as Council President said, speaking on behalf of the redevelopment agency. Approximately 2 months ago, we came before the council to provide a presentation about what we thought were the economic development potential of Branch Village. And to somewhat buffer, I think, the accusations that maybe I'm drinking the Kool-Aid, we brought in an additional party, Colin Kane, Chairman of the 195 Commission, to chime in on our opinions about what that potential is. And quite frankly, Mr. Kane affirmed those in spades. But what we also laid out that evening was a series of strategies that really needed to happen in order for us to realize that potential. And unfortunately, words are cheap. In the economic development field, you can talk all you want about how you want business investment, but unless there is action to demonstrate that, you're just one of many communities that are talking the talk but not walking the walk. Most of those recommendations were infrastructure related. One of those focuses was clearly the absence of sewers in the redevelopment district. And following that meeting, and we thank the council leadership ready for that, and Mr. Alves, there was significant movement in that direction. One of the other issues, however, is the one with roads. The fact of the matter is, anybody coming into that redevelopment district is going to look at the visual presentations of it, and they're going to come out of this fact of the matter is that there are a lot of people who want money out of the state's transportation pool. The line is unlimited. The reality is the ones that actually get that money are the ones that are willing to pull it up early on to get the project designed and into the transportation improvement program so it does become fundable by the state. So we look at this increase in appropriation for the infrastructure being fundamental to our efforts. We need to start that process because with the DOT's partnership, in addition to preparing for the sewer improvements, we also prepare for the infrastructure, and now we have a story to sell. So I strongly support the council's efforts to reconsider this and recognize the appropriate additional money. Thank you very much.
Questions for Mr. Gibbs?
Not necessarily Mr. Gibbs, but just council discussion. Unless somebody has a question. I think if we're going to bump that up, then we really need to go back and figure out where we can get the 35,000 that you want to increase it by. It would seem to me that, I thought the fund balance restoration in the same category was approved at 50. It's listed here as being approved at 75.
Correct, I believe it was 75.
It was 75? Yeah, so I would, obviously I was against 50 or 75 because I don't believe putting money in the bank, as I stated last Monday night, putting money in the bank at the expense of a funding of a school department or funding of an EMA or funding of whatever else we're going to reconsider tonight. I would suggest that the 35,000 come out of that 75,000 and you can put 40,000 for the fund balance restoration.
Well, there was a proposal, and we have the motion on the floor for an increase to 110, which is $35,000 increase. Frankly, I think that is still woefully ineffective. It's not where it needs to be. There's two primary expenses that I think we can expect if we're going to proceed. One is related to the cost of filing the Stage 2 application to provide for reimbursement on the school portion of the bond should it pass. That's a $31,000 expense, which I hope that we're going to incur because I hope that passes. And if it does, we have to be prepared to pony that money up. The other cost, which is not very well known, though we've had discussions with DOT about the order of magnitude cost for design and engineering of the transportation improvements, those can be upwards of $200,000. So we're looking at somewhere in the neighborhood of like $230,000 of need potentially for that, and we're talking about budgeting 110. So I would like to see that number be higher. By how much? I think it would be safer if we, between that and other contingency line item, if we put 150 in that line item, I would feel like it's closer to where we need to be. But I realize that we're not all going to get everything that we think is necessary. So that's my feeling on it. And and if this motion does not pass, I will come back and make a motion for a higher amount. So unless anybody has any further discussion, we have a motion and seconded, and we can take a roll call vote. This is to increase it to $110,000.
Yes. Mr. McGee?
No.
Mr. Yapa?
No.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes. No. So the motion. Okay. There was no, yes, no, yes. So the motion does not carry. So I will make a motion at this time to increase the contingency infrastructure line item to $150,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Zelinski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote.
Ms. Allen? No. Mr. McGee?
No.
Mr. Yapa?
No.
Mr. Zelinski?
No.
Okay. Yes. I'll make a third motion to increase the contingency infrastructure line item to $115,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Zelinski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Allen? Yes. Mr. McGee?
No.
Mr. Yapa?
No.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
President.
Mr. Yazdak.
I move for reconsideration of the fund balance restoration line on account in the amount of $75,000.
And I believe that we, I do, the vote to reconsider was for regarding contingency budget line items, plural. So, my guess is that we can entertain other motions for contingency items.
If it's in,
Yes.
if it's in the area that you're reconsidering, then my answer is yes.
It looks to me that it is in the area, and I believe that when we, double check something. It is in, actually, although we did take separate votes on all of the contingency items, Councilor Zelinski was eligible to nominate all of those for consideration because he was in the majority on all of those. So my sense is that we are able to do that.
That's why I posted it on the agenda as contingency line items, Mr. President, so I'm not adverse to opening it up to every line item if we wish to discuss each line item. So I'll make a motion that we open it up as was requested of the town clerk, the contingency budget line items be discussed. So I make the motion we open them all up.
Right. Well, that, I think that already happened.
So Mr. Yazdak.
I have a motion to open that up. I think we need a second, and then I think we need to vote as to open that up. And then we see where we go.
I think that we're, if I could just clarify what this was for just a moment, but I believe that the contingency line items as a group, we have voted affirmatively to reconsider the contingency line items plural. And that's already passed. So we had a subsequent motion to adjust one of the line items. Now we have another motion to adjust another line item. So at this point, it would be appropriate for Mr. Yazdak to make a motion on a specific line item.
So for the specific line item, the fund balance restoration identified as 4194-569. So I can prove that I can read it without glasses. And the amount is zero. Previously approved for 75.
So the motion by Mr. Yazdak to reduce that line item to 0. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Councilor McGee. Discussion. I will just say for myself, we've heard from the town's fiscal advisor, and at a point when we're preparing to go to a bond, to do anything that would put our bond rating in jeopardy, to me would be irresponsible. We heard from Mr. Massaroni, who's our town's fiscal advisor, indicating that we should be rebuilding that fund balance. We should be getting to a point where we have a reserve of between, I believe he said, between 9 and 11%. We're only at, I think, under 8. So we have a ways to go in replenishing that, and we did do it last year, and I think we should do it again this year. I think that to zero that out would be responsible.
Mr. President.
Mr. Yazdak.
I appreciate your comments, and not to reiterate, but I'll repeat a couple of them from last Monday night. I really can't look at somebody and say, we cut the school department's request by $200,000 or $300,000 so we could put $75,000 in the bank. It just doesn't make any sense to me at all. I think, you know what, I think the education of our children and that responsibility, especially this year when we have the opportunity, if we're to reach some kind of compromise tonight, to fully fund their request without any kind of tax increase. As a matter of fact, there would be a tax decrease because of the base increases. We would be, you know, we should be taking that opportunity, not put $75,000 in the bank. So quite honestly, I'm all there for trying to make the town as financially viable and on paper looking real good. But I tell you, you know, I just can't look at people who have kids in the school system and tell them, well, we put $75,000 in the bank, but you don't get AP English, or you're not going to get the full-time librarian that NECAS said you were deficient in. But we put money in the bank, so you should feel better about that. So that's why the motion's there. That's why it's going to be 0. If it fails, I'll go back to 50. I'll go back to 25. I'll keep on making motions, but we'll get some kind of resolution here tonight on this one.
Any other comments, discussion?
Mr. President, I really think we have to take seriously, and I appreciate Mr. Yazdak's wanting to free up some cash, and I think last week we were back and forth, he and I, about to split the difference with you, but we're not getting good information as far as this year with a deficit of about $790,000 that will impact next year as well. So we have to be very careful. We're treading on thin ice. I think, given that the bond issues include a lot of school needs, if we have a bond interest rate that goes out of sight, I mean, we're going to be strapped to even pay that back, and we need to provide those capital improvements for the schools as well as the municipality. This is an unusual situation because of the $750,000 deficit. It's not every day we have this to face with a couple of days left before the end of the year is due, the fiscal year is due to close. So I just caution you that we will have some impacts this year and next year based on what's happening, so tread cautiously.
Any further discussion?
Well, with that line of thinking, we should revisit the whole general fund upward, and we should be looking for another $750,000 in savings, around $750,000 deficit. So until the final numbers are in, we don't know what that's going in.
And those numbers won't be in until the audit is finished, probably.
Next December.
Yeah, November, December. But just keep those things in mind. That this is not an average year, nor is, unfortunately.
Okay, if there's no further discussion, I'd ask for a roll call vote. This is for a motion to reduce the fund balance restoration line item to zero. Roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Alves? No. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
No.
Mr. Dyer?
No. Motion fails. Any other motions?
Make a motion that we make it $25,000.
Motion by Mr. Yazbak to reduce the fund balance restoration line item to $25,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. McGee. During discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Alves? No. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
No.
Mr. Dyer?
No.
Mr. President,
Mr. Yazbak.
make a motion $50,000.
Motion by Mr. Yazbak to reduce the restoration fund balance line item to $50,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Mr. McGee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Alves? No. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
No.
Mr. Dyer?
No. Any further motions?
Mr. President, I would make a motion that the fund balance restoration amount be set at $60,000.
Motion by Mr. Zelinski for $60,000. Is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Mr. Yazbak. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Mrs. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
And Mr. Dyer?
No, motion carries. So it looks like we are on to item number 4. Discussion by council vote or other action on reconsideration of votes taken on June 16, 2014 regarding police pension account number 4811-231 and municipal pension account number 4811-232. This was sponsored by Mr. Yazbak. And I believe that if you are eligible, because you were in the majority voting for this, and I don't know what the origin of it was. Would you like to explain this?
Sure, Mr. President. The finance director at the meeting last Friday identified an issue with the fact that under contractual obligations and the setting of a new rate at the state level for pension obligations, that the pension budget that we approved a week ago was not the proper amount. The proper amount is $273,493 for police pension, and the proper amount for the municipal pension is $104,770. So, because it is a contractual obligation, we would end up having to spend that kind of money based on the calculations that the finance director had. So, based on the respect for the finance director and the town administrator, and based on their request, I placed it on the agenda for reconsideration.
So there's a motion to reconsider these two items. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman McGee. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Allen? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazdi?
Yes.
Mrs. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Barry?
Yes. Now we'll actually take up the substance of this proposed line item change. Who would like to speak to this? This is talking about the municipal employee pension number. I believe it's increased total by about $98,000. Is that correct?
Yes, police was at, I think, 13 and went up to 19%, and the municipality went from, it did go up, and what happened was, the state is doing two different pensions, the state retirement and TIA express, and when I asked, what the increases were, I was told that it didn't go up, but we were talking about crack and not the other. So upon reviewing the records, going through the trial, it was right, I did find it, and I did fix it. So that's the difference.
So the numbers then would be respectively 273,493 and 104,770. Is that right?
Yes. And I did put in, the difference is 80,276 for police and 18,220 for municipality.
For a combined total of 98,496.
Mr. President,
Mr. Yazdi.
with the finance director, if I may, have finance director not to take anything away from you, but they, the administration identified in a meeting last Friday, $83,700 of other revenue sources that we get to the revenue budget that basically covers the majority of that.
So you're making a motion to amend those two line items accordingly?
So 273,493 for police because it is contractual, and 104,770 for municipal because it is contractual.
Motion by Mr. Yazdi, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Zelinski. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Allen? Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazdi?
Yes.
Zelinski?
Yes.
Yes, motion carries. On to item number 5, discussion by council vote for other action on reconsideration of capital outlay for school department. Mr. Yazdi.
Thank you, Mr. President. I wish to reconsider that amount. Those amounts in that category are located, I believe, right above the school department budget. In capital, it's a new line item for the operating budget. It was approved that capital outlay for 78407 for police and the capital outlay for schools for 247,675. Looking for reconsideration in order to free up some money so that we can use that money to try to get closer to the department request of the school department. Once again, I need to tell you that although I agree with this theory, the implementation this year has been lease purchased for the last, I don't know how many years, but at least 15 that I know of. It's commendable to try to rethink this, but I think, again, it's coming at the expense of the school department request. We've already paid for it and received a substantial report from Mr. Edge and Mr. Sweeney that basically points that there's a $1.2 million shortfall in money needed to meet our basic education plan. Not only that, as we speak right now, we're somewhere around $275,000 short of the department, of the school department's request. Actually, I'm sorry.
We'll do the motion to reconsider first.
So I'm just explaining why I want to reconsider it. So those are significant issues. I go in more detail, but that's the reason for the reconsideration. So that's a motion to reconsider those line items. I'll further the discussion will be at the appropriate time.
Motion by Mr. Yazdi to reconsider. Is there a second? Second by Mr. McGee. Discussion. I actually think that this item is out of order. Because I believe that Mr. Yazdi isn't eligible to nominate this for reconsideration, being in the minority vote on this on June 16th. I've looked at the record. the record of with the before. 2020 was 3-2. Now we're just looking at an explanation. Is that correct that it was 3-2? I believe that it was Mr. Yazdak and Mr. Zielinski who were in the minority on that vote.
And Mr. President, I believe on the Robert's rules, this would fall under, we don't have a specific rule for it. Under Robert's rules of order, I believe anybody can ask for reconsideration, whether they're positive or negative with the vote.
We do have a rule for it, actually, in our work rules.
There's a rule for it. You want to go on?
Well, then, if that's the case, then I would ask somebody who voted in the affirmative to please do me the favor, as a colleague of mine, and ask for reconsideration.
Why don't we get the report from the secretary first?
Well, I'll accept it if it's in the rules. There's no need to go into it and waste valuable time.
No, well, it also gives a criteria of how you go about doing it, that the person in the majority needs to notify, let's say the clerk, I don't know how to read it from, but I'm not read it, needs to notify the clerk that, that you're going to motion to reconsider prior to the meeting. So, if you're not in the majority, I don't think, right, I think, and then you have to vote on this motion before you can take up any other motion. So, my statement to you would be that it is out of order.
You were in the minority. You would have been eligible, but you didn't request it when you were eligible.
You want to read the rule and read it?
Would you please?
Sure. On a vote, this is map number 10 in the council rules of order. When a vote has been passed, it shall be in order for any member voting with the majority to move a reconsideration thereof at the same meeting, or to give notice in writing of his or her intention to move a reconsideration at the next regular meeting, provided, however, that the chair shall not entertain any motion until the motion to reconsider has been acted upon. And when such notice of intention to reconsider has been given, the clerk shall retain possession of the papers until the next meeting. And no subsequent motion to reconsider the vote passed shall be in order at the same meeting, unless upon a withdrawal of the notice, and when a motion to reconsider has been decided, that vote shall not be reconsidered. And the same resolution or ordinance shall come once before the body for reconsideration.
So if we have a motion on the floor, but it's a motion on an item that's out of order, can we even take a vote on the motion?
No, my position is not.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is item number 7, discussion. I'm sorry, no, item number 6.
Hey, do you want to make an announcement to ask folks to turn this up?
Yes. If folks would kindly turn cell phones off, that'd be appreciated. Thank you, Councilor. Next item is item number 6, discussion by council vote or other action on reconsideration of vote taken on the emergency management agency budget. That's listed by me. That was a 5-0 vote, so I'm eligible to have requested reconsideration. Is there a motion to reconsider the line items for the emergency management budget? So, moved by Councilor Zielinski, is there a second? Second, I'll second it. Is there any discussion? What I would like to propose, well, let's have the vote to reconsider before we talk about the amount. Roll call vote, please.
No.
Yes. So now we're taking up the actual line item in the budget, which if you'll just go on to Just to review, the request was for $18,658. The administration proposed a total of $18,658, and the budget committee approved a total of, a recommended total of $17,908. What was approved was a total of $14,250. Mr. Branconi, who heads the EMA, wasn't able to be here at the last meeting. He's written to us and explained his case, and I believe that the thing that is probably most pressing, and I think that what Mr. Branconi is going to tell us is that he could live with an additional $1,000, and that would help to provide the uniforms for all the new recruits. But I would invite Mr. Branconi, if he'd like to say a word. Colonel Branconi.
Unless you can hear me from here, I look at the microphone. Unfortunately, that night, I was involved with a medical emergency, so I wasn't able to be here. I did listen as much as I could to the YouTube, which is a great service now. I shouldn't see what people said, but I couldn't hear too well. The only thing I'm contemplating here is this. Over the last couple of years, I put into my budget approximately $1,500 for uniforms for my members. We have several new people, and I just want to run through this, because you may not be aware of this. I believe somebody mentioned it, but I just want to tell you what we're getting for this. Every officer gets a short sleeve shirt, long sleeve shirt, pair of pants, 3-season jacket, and a hat. We did get some vests and raincoats years ago. They're given one badge, one hat badge, and patches for the uniform. Unfortunately, as you saw on April 20th, I had a lot of people in winter clothing. I didn't have any money this year because of some budget freezes to buy new clothes for the summer. So I'm kind of stuck in between a rock and a hard place. I'm trying to clothe 20 people. This is not for me. This is for the officers that represent you as they go out to meetings and things or do events in town. So what I'd like you to do is, if you can, put $1,000 into my clothing budget. But I think there's an additional issue here which I think we can correct tonight. Many of you may not know what we do, so I'd like, if the council can do this, to appoint a liaison between you and us. So that if somebody comes to our meeting and sees what we do, here's what we do, what we discuss, I think you'll have a better idea to come back to the council and say, well, they told me what this is all about. You'll know something about EMA. But I would really ask for your help to get that $1,000 headed onto my clothing budget so we can get some summer shirts. So we'll be ready for Pumpkin Fest.
Colonel, I would say that you pointed out on April 20th, we had a promotion ceremony here.
Yes.
And that was a great opportunity for us to hear exactly what the EMA does do 365 days a year. I think that should be a continuing tradition to do that in a council meeting.
We'd like to do that.
So, Mrs. Lewinsky.
Mr. President, Colonel, I apologize for not fully funding them for uniforms. If you feel $1,000 will enable you.
Give me $1,500, I'd be glad. The rest of your budget, you've said it, I'm not going to complain. So clothing is the most important to me.
Mr. President, I would like to increase the EMA budget from $14,250 to $15,250, with a $1,000 increase going for clothing. That's a motion.
Motion by Councilor Lewinsky. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Alves. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee? Mr. Yarstack?
No.
Mr. Lewinsky?
Yes.
And Mr. Larry?
Yes, motion carries.
Mr. President,
Mrs. Lewinsky.
although it's not on the agenda for a liaison, it does become on the agenda. I'd like to have my name considered to be the liaison to the EMA.
Consider yourself to be the liaison. Thank you very much.
And if I weren't here, I was going to be the liaison, right? Obviously, never in the Marine Corps.
At this time, we're going to move on to item number 7, discussion by council vote or other action on proposed budgets for fiscal year 2014-2015. We have listed here A, revenue, B, expenditure, C, sewer department, and D, transfers. And I propose that, as we did last time, we can start with item B, which is the expenditure. Does anybody object? Okay, so I think what we're talking about is any of the items that we didn't already do, which I believe is the, at this point, just the school allocation. And before we do that, we could ask the finance chair to give us a total number at this point, because I believe that your updated figures that we received, the total amounts that we are allowed to extend per state law, I believe, is $39,322,360. Is that correct? Okay. Can you tell us what the differences between what is the maximum that can be appropriated to the school board and that number based on everything else that's been decided?
Okay, the school appropriation, I have 18,657,223, which is 2.4.
You say that's the, when you say that's 2.4%, that's just to be clear, that's the local appropriation, not including state aid, which would bring that up considerably. 2.7 of the state.
What's the total number for the category now?
24,486,857.
So the department will be short based on their request of 256,658. Is that correct? Just so the council knows, they had requested 24,743,515. I believe that's still a good number. And there was some minor changes in Medicaid and rental income, although the finance director and I agreed that those should be part of the general budget, but we decided we were going to include it. Council action. And you're at 24,486,857. So you're short 256,658. I'm getting that number twice.
I'm gonna ask if there's any discussion that we have from elections that we're all aware of what's being discussed. I think, if I'm understanding correctly, there's some discussions about how much may have changed because of the increased revenue figures and what those are factored in.
Because we do that, the revenue to it, as well, we changed our revenue number.
And that's already
It's not
accounted
this
for.
number now, it's last week.
I understand the revenue numbers were already changed on the sheets that we were given. Can we please have him up there so we can speak to everybody as you've already asked?
You know what?
Thank you.
I understand the revenue numbers were changed on the budget that we have prior to the meeting, but if you just added $49,000 in expenditures, I don't know how the number could come out higher. It should be coming out lower for the total expenditure, shouldn't it? If you had total expenditures of $39,322,660, and you just added, I believe, what's the total number? 41,000?
Well, we also dropped some, we dropped the fund down a little bit.
How much did you drop the funds down?
Here's what I recommend. We want to make sure that we're making the right decision before we do this evening. So I'd like to make a motion to take a 5-minute recess so that the finance director can double check the numbers, we know what number will work. Second, all in favor, say aye. Aye. 5-minute recess. the new number is. And why don't we start, if I can, let's go back to the total number that we are allowed to invest under state law. Is that still 39,322,660?
Yes.
Okay. So now tell us what the amount is available to appropriate for the schools.
Okay, so I took that, the revenue, I minus out what, we have on expenditures, which was 20,705,437, which left us an appropriation for the school of 18,617,223.
Which represents,
Which is 2.2 with a total of 2.5.
So we're short by 306,658 after the original request. If you look, Brenda, if you put that on your computer, if you just put in the 18,673, what's the category?
24,
24,
46, 857.
24, 486, 857.
No, 24, 446, 857.
So I think 24, 446, 857, maybe we're calculating, so I have to do
And
something.
I minus out the school level. Sure.
Minus out the school,
Minus 6.
no, they requested
They requested
24, 740,
743,
550. 296, 500. 296, 650.
580.
Ms. Yapka,
Because I don't believe the entire operating budget was adopted, I'll make a motion to appropriate 24, 743, 515. That's my motion for the school department.
24/7,
43, 515.
because you don't believe that it was totally.
I don't believe the entire budget was approved. We ended a week ago, it was still open. We told everybody we'd come back and work on it tonight. We're back working on it tonight. I'm making a motion for the full department request. If it passes, if it gets a second, then I can explain what I think has to happen.
Motion by Mr. Yazbek to approve a total school department budget of $24,743,515. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilman McGee. Is there any discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Yazbek.
because the entire general fund operating budget was not approved, I believe everything is back on the table, and I don't think I need a motion to reconsider to do it.
I will turn to the solicitor for advice on this.
The document is clearly before you, but you have to get to a mechanism that reconsiders a vote that was already taken. So the vote was already taken on that, well, the vote has, I mean, the budget has to be balanced, let's stop there. So there has to be an explanation of how it's going to be balanced. I would assume. I don't know what the I don't know, I don't want to read into what the reconsideration was, but that was already voted on. So the only way you have to have some type of mechanism to balance the budget.
Because appropriating this $24,743,000 would have consequences in other areas of the budget that have already been voted on.
Correct, so you would have to somehow reopen those areas without reconsidering, because they've already been voted on, and I believe now it's too late. There has to be some mechanism to do that.
And I report that it's not too late, because the entire budget was not adopted last Monday night. Everything was continued.
That's right.
So I think if the motion carries, then we as a council need to go back and rework the budget to make it work out, or rework the revenue side. But I don't think, I'm not calling a reconsideration, I'm calling an approval for the school department at 24/743,550. that, and we take it up for a vote. And again, I will tell you that we could have fully funded the school department with a little bit of compromise. We could have fully funded the school department, and we can still compromise if this motion carries. And we can find other areas to compromise on, and there won't need to be a tax increase either. So it's an opportune time to do it. All we need is a little bit of compromise with the 5 members on this council.
I'm not so sure that you can say there's not going to be tax increase. I think that we heard some information at the beginning of our meeting about a projected deficit.
For this year, of 14, that will be closing June 30th. Next year will be affected by the abatements and any appeals thereof, and any supplemental bills that went out that are already starting to be appealed. So our ability to raise the amount of taxes we need to sustain our budget may be impacted.
But we're getting off on a tangent because the issue before us is that there's a motion to approve the total amount that you just said, $24,743,515, which would necessitate going back and revisiting items that have already been voted upon. We have to have motions to reconsider those items. So there's a difference of opinion. The aspect is that the entire budget is whole, and I don't believe that. But we can do that. I don't believe we can do that legally, and I'm seeking legal guidance from the state.
Well, I mean, if you're going to propose changes on the revenue side, to balance the budget, then so be it. If you're going to go back and try to deal with things that have already been voted on, then we need a mechanism to do that. And the mechanism isn't reconsideration anymore because it was not brought up properly, at least in that situation. And now we just need to, I mean, we have to figure out a mechanism if that's something that.
Well, in that case, should we shut down the meeting again and regroup and do it again another time, so we have time to
Okay, so we have a, I don't even know if Mr. Rose, we can act.
I think the motion itself is proper. The problem is, it's going to throw the budget out of balance.
Because it would all have to be on the revenue side.
You're going to have to balance it.
Mr. President, just to clarify so there's no misunderstanding, when we started budget deliberations last week, we were told that the state law, Senate Bill 3050, commonly known as what we live with, the 3050 rule, that 3050 rule allowed us to increase at a certain rate the levy. Now, the levy is based upon the assessed values times a rate. Okay, we all know that because of National Grid and because of Dowling Village, the levy, the assessment values have gone up. Therefore, the levy will rise accordingly. Okay, and in order to meet the 3050, there was testimony in front of this council last week that we would have to have a small decrease in the tax rates to be able to do that. Unless something has changed, there's nothing here about a tax increase. What we have is an opportunity with the money available and the growth in our tax base to fund this budget and reduce tax rates slightly for the second year in a row. And we can then use that money without a tax increase to go forth and fund the departments as we see fit. The motion here tonight that I just made is to fund their request. In my mind, if it is successful and meets with at least 3 votes, then the whole budget is open to go back and look for ways to develop how to meet that goal. Some of it may be revenue items, some of it may be cuts and things that have previously been approved. And that's what we should go and do.
I think your assumption is that any of the additional revenues from down the road and National Grid are that the town council can extend that. And by law, we can only extend up to that 4%. Any revenues that the town derives above that 4% are required by law to go back to taxpayers. It's that simple.
President, the numbers that we've run with Mr. Booth up until this morning, we're not going to be able to keep, we may be able to keep the rates stable. We won't be able to reduce that. We are having a difficult time running numbers for a tax bill that's been certified that identifies enough revenue this year because of all the issues we've
And
had.
this is assuming that we index the maximum.
We are, yes, absolutely going to increase.
So we won't have a decrease, but we won't have an increase as best knowledge right now.
As best knowledge today. Now, what he's trying to do is find additional revenue, but unfortunately, when he's going to find, when he hopes for revenue, he finds that he has to make adjustments in the negative. So it's a very tenuous situation right now. I don't know anything huge about what that number will be. In fact, tonight when we give you the tax method of taxation, the reason we're giving you a range is between 29 to 31 million because we still don't know in the next few days. Actually, we have until July 2nd, I believe, to submit the final numbers. So, you know, we have to have those printed. So we'll have to lock that roll in the next several days. And we're still trying to find some revenue to make up so that we can maintain the stability of the rate. But anything over and above that will most likely result at this point. And Mr. Yazbek's point will take is we're going to have a whole different ballgame in 48 hours. It has not been in our favor, unfortunately, in the last couple of years. So I'm just hoping that it comes through.
So we have a motion, we have had a second. We're still in discussion. I would like to just take this opportunity, this very most important item to talk about the budget, to suggest to people to not view this council as either pro-school or anti-school. And the fact that excuse me, and the fact that some people are not recommending a full 4% should not translate into that they're anti-school. There's been a lot of information that's been put out, some of it misinformation, some of it misleading, about how much the school has had to work with, where the savings are. I, for one, and I think I speak for everybody in the council, want to see our school district continue to strengthen, not to weaken it, not to dismantle it. When I look at, and I hear information about the 1.5% increase average over 5 years. To me, that number is a misleading number, because that number refers only to the local appropriation, just the local appropriation. When you look at the budget for the North Smithfield School Department, and you factor in the local and the state amount, which is how you should be looking at the total budget amount, the increases in North Smithfield have outpaced the state average. It went from fiscal 11, went 4.3% in fiscal 12, went up 5.3% in fiscal 13, and then another 3.25% in fiscal 14. And when I look at this chart on the back that compares all the other school districts, the average amount that was, the increase that was provided from fiscal 13 to fiscal 14 on a percentage basis was the whole state, 1.79%. North Smithfield was 3.25%. Jump ahead to the percent increase requested. North Smithfield was 3.77%, and the budget committee was recommending, the administration was, the average was 2.26%. So we have consistently outpaced the rest of the state in terms of the total increase in school budget. And I don't think that's very well.
Come on. How about some real facts, Mr. Flaherty?
The state's making up for the fact that they
So-
haven't funded us
so-
for the next quarter.
When I'm looking at the long term,
Real facts.
order. If you can't maintain order, you can leave the room.
Stop lying to us, John.
If you, Mr. Biles, why don't you leave
Get
the
out of
room?
here, Val's. You're just. Please leave this
Hey,
building.
Okay?
Hey,
All right?
right?
Thank you. Speaking for myself, when I look at the school budget and what we're trying to accomplish, what I want to know is that we're going to have the ability to provide increases year over year and to be able to sustain that. And I haven't heard a whole lot of discussion about the fiscal tsunami that's coming in fiscal 18. We heard a little bit about it at the public hearing. A few things are going to happen in fiscal 18 that everybody in this room should be aware of. Number one, the school funding formula is going to come to an end, the redistribution. We've been getting increased state aid to make up for the fact that we have not been getting state aid that we should have been getting. So we'll be getting an extra bump from that. That comes to an end in fiscal 18. So there's no guarantees of any sizable increases from the state in fiscal 18. Combine that with the fact that the tangibles on the national grid revenue, which have been substantial to the town, are going to begin depreciating substantially. And combine that with the fact that we're not going to have substantial growth at Dowling Village post fiscal 18. All those factors together suggest that we're going to have a serious financial issue to contend with beginning in fiscal 18. I'm not going to be here in fiscal 18. That's not going to be my problem. But I feel a responsibility to make sure that when we make a decision, that we're making a decision with our eyes wide open. That's been my perspective. That's how I see it. I know that we don't all agree on it, but I think it's just very important that people understand that for folks who are not supporting the full appropriation, it's not that we're anti-school. Believe it or not. Some people are going to believe it, some people aren't going to believe it. I can't control that. I'm just telling you how I deliberate. I do for this what I've done for every decision that's come before me, and that is to weigh the facts as impartially as I can and devote my conscience. And that's what I've done to this point, and that's what I'll continue to do, whether people agree with it or not. We have a motion that's been seconded. Is there any further discussion? The motion is to appropriate a total of $24,743,515. Roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? No. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazdi?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
No.
And Mr. Clary?
No. Is there any other motions? Ms. Alves?
Make a motion to make the town appropriation to the school department $18,617,220.
Motion by Ms. Alves to appropriate to the school department a total of $18,617,223. Is there a second?
Second for discussion.
Second by Councilor Zelinski. Discussion.
Ms. Alves, I think everybody in this room understands that we cannot dictate if we were to increase that money, which department it gets allocated to. I was here the other night and I heard Vice Chair Bones tell us that New England, I was meant to say, North Smithfield School System has been given one by NEAS, New England Association of Colleges and Schools. And one of the areas that was of concern was that they did not have enough resources in the library for the ratio of students. One of the other ones, of course, was the infrastructure not being up to standards, especially in science. Like we have a bond that's out in front of the public to approve the infrastructure of the high school. And the public will vote to approve that or disapprove that. Ms. Alves, in your calculation, again, I wanted to make this very clear. I would like to identify, or at least make a motion, if this motion fails, to increase the budget by $25,000 to help defray for a library aid or whatever. I would like to see that go to address the NEAS, and that's basically what I'm coming from. But I would like to see an additional $25,000 earmarked for some type of librarian or resource aid. The school department do it what they wish. One vote, vote for that.
Okay, we have a motion that's been seconded. We have discussion. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
No.
Mr. Yazdi?
No.
Mr. Zelinski?
No.
And Mr. Clary?
Yes. Is there a third motion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Zelinski.
following off Councilor Allen's lead, what I just described there, I would like to increase Councilor Allen's motion by $25,000 to increase the school budget to $18,642,223.
Motion by Councilor Zelinski. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Alves. Discussion. Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee? Mr. Yazdi?
No.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes?
Mr. Clary?
Yes, motion carries. The amount is $18,642,223. At this time, we're going to move to the revenue budget, and for this, I'll turn to the finance director.
Mr. President,
Since you have that.
state law on the maintenance of benefit. I think somebody needs to make a motion to put state aid in tuition group home and high-cost special ed on the table. Make a motion to approve it. Otherwise, you're in violation of state law and MOE.
Could you confirm that, please, Madam Finance Director?
Well, right now, it's only approved for the appropriation line, the local appropriations, but I don't get approved for the state. You're not gonna-
Oh, okay. Okay, so
It's
we,
not until the time.
Right. so we did only the local appropriations. The state didn't really have any control over, but we're supposed to go through the process and appropriate it anyway.
You would want to go to my department or the outside department.
Let me just get my page. So we got the state tuition group home, high cost bed, Medicaid, rental income, and miscellaneous. I think we should do it one by one. So at this time, I'd entertain a motion to approve total state appropriation of $5,442,118. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Alves. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Yes. Mr. McGee? Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes, motion carries. At this time, I would entertain a motion to appropriate the tuition group home amount of $110,978. Is there a second? Second by Councilor Alves. Any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes, motion carries. The next item is to appropriate Medicaid revenue in the amount of $205,000. Is there a second? I'll go back. Get a motion rather than throw it. Second by Councilor Alves. Is there a discussion?
Mr. President, that's just an in and out on the revenue item. I strongly recommend we leave it off of the expense side, and everybody's identified it. They don't flow through it, whatever they receive. It's restricted anyways by federal law.
That's more.
It's Medicaid.
Could I hear from the Budget Committee Chair on this, please?
You got a ruling from B&E saying that all the revenue has to be budgeted. You got a ruling from Kramer saying all the revenue has to be budgeted, including the Medicaid. And you got, I believe, the school department's auditor even confirmed that this has to be budgeted revenue. That's what the issue was in the past, that it wasn't recognized and wasn't listed as a budgeted revenue. So all of these categories are listed as budgeted revenues in every other school department budget in the state, and we have to do the same in order to comply with the requirements of the budget.
Okay, so we have a motion and seconded discussion.
Can I ask a question? Did you do, which one was the last one we did?
Tuition group home.
Okay, so you skipped over high cost.
I'm going to come back to that. Roll call vote, please.
Yes. Mr. McGee?
Yes.
Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
And Mr. Farley?
Yes, motion carries. And go back to the high cost sped in the amount of $11,538. Is there a motion? Moved by Councilor Alves. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Zelinski. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
Ms. Alves? Yes. Mr. McGee? Mr. Yazbek?
Yes.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
Mr. Farley?
Yes. The last, actually, there's two other items. The second to last is rental income in the amount of $60,000. Is there a motion to approve? Moved by Councilor Alves. Is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Zelinski. My question on this, this is for operating. It's rental income is to be used to offset operating expenses. We have a motion and seconded. Any further discussion?
Mr. President?
Mr. Yazbek.
The school department has a restricted fund set up where that rental income goes to purchase small equipment, and also as a sinking fund to pay for the carpet when it needs to be renewed in 10 years.
think that sinking fund is also a violation of the charter. All capital has to go through the planning board process and the council reports. So we have a motion to seconded. Any further discussion? Hearing none, roll call please.
Mr. House? Mr. McGee? Mr. Yazbek?
No.
Mr. Zalinski?
Yes.
Mr. Farrell?
Yes, motion carries. That last item is miscellaneous revenue that has appropriation amounts, so we finished the school department.
Mr. President, I think it's customary now to make a motion to vote for the entire budget,
Yes.
which I will make.
The total expenditure budget is $39,347,660.
One more time. I'm sorry.
$39,347,660.
Okay, now when we started off, I asked kind of on a couple of occasions to confirm the total amount that we are allowed to invest. And I thought that number was $39,322,660
Right, but you just, you increase the school board budget by $25,000, so you have to change around.
on the revenue side. So at this time, I would propose we move on to the revenue portion of the budget. Mr. Lindbergh?
Mr. Clyde, I don't know if it's appropriate or allowed to speak, but again, I'm not feeling well, and give me the opportunity, I'll say my piece of the, appreciate it, thank you.
Does anybody object, first of all?
First off, I'd like to thank, this is a wonderful turnout, it's a show of civic responsibility, I guess, I'll have to thank everyone here. Mr. Flaherty, I wrestle with what you had said about the numbers in the back of the report. I don't, read them, but I do struggle with your comparison to other districts. I think what we have to tell people is we have one of the few districts in the state that receive additional state aid. A far majority of districts in the state aren't receiving additional state aid, and there's a reason for that. The other reason that we receive it, or the purpose behind it, as stated by the associate commissioner, is not to use it to offset the local appropriation. He was clear about that, and I think when you look at that combined with the local appropriation, for some reason I believe that's what the effort is here to do. We're getting so much more in state aid for education, so maybe we lower the local appropriation effort. So I just kind of want to point that out to you. There has to be something missed somewhere here too, because I'm missing something. I don't understand the information that you take out of context. We have no idea what those school department funds balances were for the last several years. If they have worked cooperatively with their town council and school committee in a way that enabled them to combine local appropriation and appropriation of a school department fund balance, which many districts do. When they have a collaborative working relationship with their town council, we have neighboring districts that do that, and that has helped those communities offset their local appropriation for those years. So when you offer that information out of context, we're really not seeing the whole picture. So was there a plan there? Instead of just forcing the school department to fund less, maybe the school department had developed a large enough fund balance to do so. So something's amiss, because when you read the auditor's recommendation for our fund balance and why it's not being adhered to, and you read the B&E report, and it just speaks to the fact that, on more than one occasion, they hint that we're underfunded. Something's amiss. And so if we're going to continue in this way, I agree it's a tsunami, but I also believe that it's a legal tsunami down the road. I think maybe we should consider an educational performance audit next year, going the next level up. Bring them back and have them go through the school department again and tell us where we can cut and save further. But right now, the information that you share doesn't line up with the information coming out of RIDE or UCOA or the B&E report. So something's amiss, John, somewhere. It just doesn't fit. So it does bother me when you throw those numbers out, because I'm not throwing them out. I'm going to use what came from the audit report. I'm going to use what I see in black and white. So I kind of struggle with that. I just feel like we're ignoring the recommendations of the audit report. And you were the first person to say you'd abide by it, so I don't know why we're ignoring those recommendations. So, I just don't think it's fair to cherry pick information and put it in a context and say, you know, North Smithfield has far surpassed everybody else in the state with increases. There's something's wrong with that if we're still third or fourth or whatever from the bottom in terms of per pupil expenditure. So that's one thing. The Medicaid revenue bothers me a little bit because I know that that's based on trending. But I do want people to know in the audience that Medicaid revenue is earned by the hard work of people in the district that take the time and the hours to do that. So what happens if Ms. Rathbun decides on July 1st and says to all those people, give all your time to the kids. Don't bother with those reimbursements anymore. Who's on the hook for the $200,000? So I just want to confirm that. Now, we're not going to do that because honestly, I believe we're principled in that way, but, you know, we always showed it in our expenditure. So it was always there. But if we don't achieve that goal, we don't achieve that goal. The other misnomer about committed rental, John, is that there are categories at RIDE in UCOA for capital outlay. So please don't misunderstand that. You know, you may want to see it all go through the planning board, but the committee has every right to expend funds in terms of capital outlay the way they see fit. They're working on a 3 or 4 year policy and protocol. Clearly, they've been able to do some phenomenal things without taxpayers' money whatsoever. In a period of time when the school department received very little, if any, capital outlay from the town, and that's okay. But they went to extreme measures to help themselves, and they were very strict about it, and they made some wonderful progress in that area. So I'm confused about why you just want to, anybody would want to just trash that and say, well, it's illegal. Did we think out of the box? Yeah, maybe there needs to be more of that, you know? Maybe we all need to think out of the box a little bit more, especially with your revenue options. So that's my comment about Medicaid and rental, because the same thing could happen tomorrow. Please understand that unless the school committee changes their policy, not one dime of that's going to go pay for paper or pencils. It's not. Unless they change their policy. It's going to go back into taking care of the facilities that are used by the people that run the facilities. So, no, it's not to be obstinate, John. It's because of what good it's done. So, so those are my 2 points. I guess something's amiss here. We're far apart, and I don't get it. I just don't get it. Teacher-wise, you know, that's where our biggest amount of our budget is. And I don't know if you follow this year in terms of our successes and what we've done. You know, I say this, and I'll say it this year again, John. I couldn't be more proud of what our teaching faculty and our support staff has done. Our budget, John, is in teacher salaries. I want to appreciate where they stand. And this might be embarrassing and could be fodder for them to get upset, but I don't think they will, because they don't just work for the salary. This year, step 1, 23 out of 27. Step 2, 26 out of 27 districts that reported. That's how low. Step 3, 27 out of 27. Step 4, last. Step 5, last. I don't know, where am I? Step 6, last. Step 7, second to last. Step 8, 2 from the bottom. Step 9, 3 from the bottom. Step 10, next to last. When you get to step 11, and you compare it to other step 11s, we're in the middle. But if you compare it to a step 10, we're 12. So, and I have 14, 15, but I won't bore you with that, but it's pretty much the same. I just don't know where we're wasting money. I feel like we've done a great job, John, and we're here asking for better. And I don't think it's unreasonable, and I keep going back to the BE report and the BEP, and with all due respect, the process still is broken. So I greatly appreciate you allowing me 5 minutes, and I'll go. Thank you.
Thank you. So we're ready to do the revenue budget? Madam Finance Director?
President, I'm sorry. So you actually vote on the total?
Uh,
I know they gave it to you, I don't know, I don't recall you voting.
no, don't have it. Thank you. We had a motion? Okay. So entertain a motion to approve a total of, correct me if I'm wrong, $39,347,660
Right.
in expenditures. Is there a motion? Moved by Councilor Zelinski, is there a second? Seconded by Councilor Alves. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, I'd ask for a roll call vote.
Yes. Mr. McGee?
No.
Mr. Yazbek?
No.
Mr. Zelinski?
Yes.
And Mr.
Yes, motion carries. That takes care of the expenditure portion of the budget.
I'm just trying to help you, I appreciate it.
Now there's a motion to work down here.
Town hall.
Make a suggestion, we need to increase the revenue $25,000. Maybe you could look at the third-party billing figure and increase that by another $25,000 to $250,000. When we came up with our revenue calculation for that, we didn't have current numbers, but by what's on the sheet in front of us as of the 17th, it looks like we're arriving at that number. And on the revenue, on the second page, under miscellaneous receipts, third-party billing, it's already been, to get the revenue up to what you thought you needed to get it up to, it's already in $225,000. I would suggest you increase that to $250,000. It's in line with what's been collected year to date, and it's very likely to occur next year. So if you have to increase the revenue by 25, I think that's a safe place to do it, or at least a reasonable place to do it.
Motion for a 5-minute recess. Moved by Councilor Alves, seconded by Councilor Zelinski.